meeting of the Hyde Park Central School District's Board of Education. Today is April 10th. The time is now 5:33 on my watch. May I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to the employment, future employment of a particular person or persons, collective bargaining negotiations under the Taylor Law, and matters of litigation, please?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We're now in executive session. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you.
Lights, are we sitting in the dark?
All you out tonight, so it's a big night. We'd like to get back into regular session. May I have a motion to re-enter exit executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Boy, it's harder to see.
Are we going to get lights here, or I feel like I'm in the dark
I
up
think
here.
Elliot's here.
Thinking lights.
All right.
Elliot, do you know if we can get lights here? Yes, I was just asking if we could. Great, thanks. Thanks, Joel.
All right. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's good, we're not singing a cappella. So much better
There was an echo.
Good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels so dark.
There are no agenda modifications for tonight's. May I have a motion to accept the agenda as listed in board docs?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. And now we are to Pride. I believe we have a cappella group performance.
Yes, so would the performing group please come forward? This was a request that came in earlier in the year after hearing the President's Men and the First Ladies. We said when we started to visit the buildings at the end of the year, let's be sure to invite them for a performance. So we are very pleased to introduce to you our a cappella group. Here are the First Ladies. Thank you, First Ladies, and welcome, President's Men. T-shirts on.
You're insecure, don't know what for. The intelligence when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup, the cover. Jelly that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Maybe you light up my jaw like nobody else. The way that you live your head gets me overwhelmed. The way you smile and look around is hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful people. You saw what I can see. You don't understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Give you up. Give you up. Never gonna give you up. Give you up. We've known each other for so long. But one thing makes me try to say it. I think we both know what's going on. We oh, understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
Unbelievable. I think both the First Ladies and the President's men deserve a standing ovation before you leave the room.
Right in front of you.
Oh, wow. That's unusual.
Yeah.
You turn it around,
I think we're going to have to, yeah. So,
Where do you go from there?
Concert.
Said we would have done it last
Yeah.
year.
And just gonna wrap the meeting up now.
so we
Exactly.
go up there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we have a little bit of a mic management here this evening. So it is our honor and pleasure to announce for the first time publicly our valedictorian and our salutatorian, and followed by that we will announce our top 20. I have a quote that I'm going to read that I thought was appropriate for this evening, and it says, "We can't know what knowledge will be most needed in the future. It is senseless to try to teach it in advance. Instead, we should try to turn out people who love learning so much and learn so well that they will be able to learn whatever needs to be learned." I think that sums up where we are in the 21st century, and it also is apropos to the students that will stand up and be recognized tonight. These are students who love learning, and our future is in their hands, and we know that they will carry us forward. So congratulations to all, and at this time we would like to call up the highest achieving student for the class of 2014, Gabrielle Deo. Congratulations. It's an honor well deserved.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
We're going to ask each of you if you know, and undecided is okay, but if you know where you're going and your major? Yeah, come on. And undecided is okay for both answers if you are indeed undecided. We know you're not.
Okay. I haven't decided exactly what I want to do, but I'm going to Stony Brook University. That's all I know. So you still want me to stand up here? Or?
No, that's okay. We know you love learning and you'll do well. our salutatorian, John Ackerman.
I'll be attending the Rochester Institute of Technology next year for mechanical engineering.
Paper's ripped in half. Okay, so we'll continue on our list. Craig Slagle. Thank you.
And I'm attending Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and majoring in computer engineering. So.
Shaosing Shasirsky. Shaosing's not here? Okay. Sushian Dickey. Not here. We have so many athletic and performing events happening at this time of the year, so not all of our top 20 will be here. There are several events where we will have the opportunity to congratulate them. So, okay. Christiana Sikas.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I will be majoring in food science, and I think most likely at the university, Cornell University.
Not good for you.
Sarah Dingy. Okay, moving right along. Jamie Stanton. Hey, Jamie.
I will be majoring in electrical engineering, possibly at Dayton University.
Hannah Bozo.
I'll be attending Alfred State College to study architecture.
Zachary Veith. Zach Veith.
I will be studying history. I'm not sure where yet.
Hanif Yassin.
I will be studying biochemistry or chemical engineering either at SUNY Albany or Stony Brook University.
Caitlin Whalen.
Thank you. I don't know where I'm going, but I'll be studying biochemistry.
Sabrina So.
I'll be majoring pre-med biochemistry, and not sure where yet, though.
Kayla McDermott.
I'm completely undecided.
Supposed to be 17.
With lots of options.
Shannon Kelly. Kelsey Foster. Lindsay Trachtenberg.
I'm completely undecided.
Kaylee Sartoris. Kaylee? Yeah. Okay, and last but certainly not least, and he is here, Thomas Stritt.
And I'm going to SUNY New Paltz to study mathematics.
Again, to our valedictorian, our salutatorian, and our top 20. Congratulations. Best of luck in the remainder of your senior year. We'll see you in the halls, on the fields, and everywhere in between, and more importantly, on your graduation day. So you don't need to stay because we know you have better things to do, and you love learning. So again, thank you and congratulations. Who?
Yeah, I had that one here.
Is Sarah Danielson here?
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Okay, Sarah Danielson, we will give your certificate to your dad. So Jeff, do you know where she's going?
No, she's going to be majoring in arts and psychology to work for art therapy.
Oh, good for him.
Excellent, thank you. Before we move on, it's really hard to beat what we just saw for anything, but there were a few other things that happened, and I'll be brief. But we had an extraordinarily important event at our school, at the high school this past Monday. A wee bit chilly, but we had the first home track and field meet since 1990. It was an excellent event, well executed, and our boys and girls both won the meet. So, bravo. It was unbelievable. There was a poetry slam at FDR yesterday, and we were honored with a local and acclaimed poet, Gold Wilkerson. The poetry slam was very well attended. I was one of the guest readers, and I was happy to be there in my element with the high school students. Today we hosted an emergency operation planning event over at Hyde Park Elementary. Aviva Kafka and Bob Bloom are our co-chairs of our safety team, and they put together this, it's a statewide planning actually based on a federal model. The chairman of our Dutchess County Legislature, Rob Rollison, was there to kick off the event. We had 100 attendees from all across New York State, so we were happy to be hosts to the event, and I know one of our board members was able to attend, Perry Sheldon. It was an excellent event. We all received an incredible amount of information, and we're happy to be front runners in the planning for emergency management. Unfortunately, we need it, but we're happy to be at the forefront. So thank you, Aviva. Good to go.
All right, this time we'll have Ms. Marine, FDR presentation.
We're thankful to Mr. Chakowski, who actually produced our presentation in the FDR Live studios. So you'll be able to view our presentation here on via video.
Hi, my name is Shadi King Marshall, and the one thing I like about FDR is that teachers are very helpful and they take their time and make sure you understand everything.
The thing I like most about FDR is the music department because all the teachers are so wonderful and all the students know what they're doing and the teachers just make it so much better.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Nigel, and I love being in classrooms at FDR and seeing kids do math and science.
Hi, I'm Sushi Antiki, and I really enjoy having the opportunity to study abroad while here at FDR.
My name is Isaac Watkins. What I like most about FDR is how welcoming the kids are and how welcoming the staff is.
Hi, I'm Giovanni Mejia. I'm a senior at FDR, and the most important thing about FDR is the rigorous classes that are offered here with the APs and honors courses that really push you to do your best.
I'm Neil Tompkins.
And I'm Chris Gannon.
And one of the favorite
things about being an FDR is being on the crew team.
Hi, I'm Mr. Defoe, and I really enjoy the FDR drama program.
Hi, I'm Kim Kurotis, and the thing that I like most about FDR are their assemblies.
Hi, my name is Zach Whiteley, and something I like about FDR High School is the help that the guidance department does when getting things done for college.
Hi, I'm Ms. Zulak, and I love everything about FDR.
Good evening and welcome to Roosevelt High School. I'm the principal, Barbara Marine. I'd like to start this evening's presentation with some information about graduation rates. Graduation rates have stayed fairly steady for the past few years with an increase in 2013, especially seen in areas of concern such as our Black students, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged students. I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Plesha, our assistant principal.
Thank you, Ms. Marine. Regent scores have decreased in global and U.S. history as a result of increased difficulty in reading and writing. We have held steady with our living environment and earth science scores. In this slide, we can see our work with English. 3 years ago, the Regents exam changed to a one-day exam. Our students with disabilities improved here and have held steady since then. As for algebra, we've seen a significant increase this past year, and we see that to be a result of our algebra staff working together each day as a team to create lessons and assessments from the Common Core curriculum. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Llewellyn.
Thank you, Mr. Plesha, and good evening, everybody. Regents Prep is an internship project that I've created this year. The purpose of the program is to help students that have had difficulty passing the Regents exam. Some of the students that I have worked with have failed this exam multiple times. Regents Prep uses GradPoint, a computer program which was purchased by the district to supplement our current AIS program. It is a tool that helps students study for their Regents exams. Students can access the program through our building website and can work on it during the study hall, lunch period, or if their schedule doesn't allow for that, they can work on it from their home. 30 students were asked to participate in the program. 15 students accepted. Of the 15, 14 took a January Regents exam. 7 of those 14 students passed their exams, so currently we are seeing a 50% pass rate. GradPoint is also being utilized for credit recovery, credit accrual, and remediation. Teachers have recently received training in GradPoint so that they may use it more effectively in their classrooms. Looking at our slide, our blue bar indicates that these are the scores of students that have failed the Regents before they went through the Regents Prep program. Our red bar indicates their score after they have gone through the Regents Prep program, and our green bar indicates the time that students have spent on the Regents program in hours. Thank you very much. I'll be turning it over to Mr. Cowan at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ruello. My name is Dan Cowan, and I'll be speaking of Students First. Students First is an academic improvement program for students involved with extracurricular activities. Students who are failing one or more subjects at the end of a 5-week marking period must attend in order to continue participation with their team or club activity. This program supplements our current eligibility policy by creating opportunities for students to complete assignments, seek the help of teachers, and work collaboratively with peer tutors. It also reinforces the notion that our kids involved with extracurricular activities are students first. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Marine.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. I'd like to give you some information about college and career readiness. We offer 16 advanced placement courses, 3 Dutchess County community courses, honors offerings in every content. This year is our second year using Naviance as our online system for college application and career research. Naviance is accessible for students in grades 10 through 12, and our guidance staff provides the training. We have charters for 4 honor societies: National Honor Society, National Art Honor Society, International Thespian Society, and our Music Honorary. And we continue to offer a wide variety of co-curricular activities which enhance the regular school day and give students a sense of pride in their education. Common Core alignment is being seen in algebra, English, and geometry. FDR faculty uses algebra and geometry lessons plans this year. English, and a full implementation of geometry will be rolled out next year. Global history will be reconfigured this coming year, providing a chronological curriculum instead of the curriculum which has a regional focus. Professional development sessions this year have focused on the modules and Common Core instructional strategies. We're working for character education with our Positive Behavior Intervention Supports Committee that's been working on developing a program for FDR. Freshman Networks has focused this year on introducing the freshmen to our building and the guidance counselors. We provide assemblies that are focused on character education. We have had cyberbullying in the law for our freshmen, Black History Celebration, which was created by a committee of students, an awesome program of school decoration, morning announcement moments, and an assembly, which included our jazz ensemble, step dance team, poetry, and drama. We also have mock DW Live for seniors, and a Women in Leadership provided through the efforts of Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett and C-SPAN for our U.S. history students. Health classes bring in presenters from Grace Smith, Daytop, and Planned Parenthood. Our community collaborations are extensive. We have our PTSA, BLT, PBIS, and booster clubs abound. Athletic groups, art, theater, and music groups, which support co-curricular activities with everything from softball field cleanup to creating a program for the spring musical to providing goodie bags for the bus ride home. Career Day happened this year with parents and folks from our community who came in to present information about their career. This was a new program and was supported by SGO. Mad City Money has brought our modern day math program by the Bridgewater Federal Credit Union, and our students thoroughly enjoyed receiving a salary and deciding what their budget would be. We thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you about FD Roosevelt High School. Thank you very much.
We didn't videotape our questions. Nice job, very nice. But if we have questions.
I think we're good. That was very, very good.
So thorough.
Is that will be displayed on the monitors too?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
And also through YouTube. FDR Live presents all their things through YouTube, so you'll be able to catch it that way too.
Excellent idea.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
again
you.
to
Very
Dave
creative.
Chakowski. Yep.
And yes, please extend our thanks to Dave. We know he helps out a lot.
Okay. Are you going to do the budget?
Yes.
All right, we'll now have the proposed 2014-2015 budget.
This is tricky.
This is live.
I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have my back to somebody, I think.
That's good.
Try that. So, well, good evening. This is our final budget presentation before we turn it over to the board for adoption at our next meeting. From here on out, we will be showing a little slideshow on Pride and a little bit about what we offer in the district, but in light of our a cappella singing groups and our top 20, there's no need to show you that we strive every day to prepare our students for the world ahead of them. So we are very proud of our programs, and more importantly, we're extremely proud of our students. I want to dispel one rumor publicly on television. I'll include it in my budget newsletter. We are not closing Ralph R. Smith next year. I understand that that rumor is running rampant in the community. It is not true. We have no plans to close another elementary school, and we're a few years away from having to consider that. We did have to look at our enrollment. Actually, it is a policy to look at enrollment on an annual basis. We did discuss putting together a timeline and some thoughts about when it would be time if our enrollment continues to decline, let's stay ahead of the curve. But we are not closing an elementary school, so whatever anybody can do to help put that rumor to rest, we'd appreciate it. So I don't know who's clicking tonight. Okay. Thank you. So we're ready to proceed with our budget. Every year we present a budget in the Hyde Park Central School District. That is two propositions. One is our general operating budget, and the second proposition is our bus replacement plan. So we'll run you through these slides. We are fortunate this year that our budget presentation has really not changed very much in the last few weeks because we have had some stable conditions and some increases in state aid, although not as much as we should have, and we'll get into that a little bit later. This year we're proposing an $87 million budget. This represents a 3% increase, budget-to-budget increase, with a tax levy at 2.03. The most important thing about our budget this year is that it is within our tax cap levy limit. We are not exceeding the tax cap limit. How did we get to this budget? We're using $3.5 million of our reserves and fund balance. We are reducing, before we even go into next year, $44,000 in mileage and conferences, $125,000 in substitutes, a decrease in overtime of $168,000, and due to attrition, declining enrollment, $966,000. We'll get into where those positions are being cut. We are also happy to announce that we're confident that for 99% of these positions, we already have retirement letters in, so we will not have to access any employees this year. So we reduced the overall budget in our planning process by $4,800,000. Our overall state aid increase was 7.62%. However, if you take out our building aid increase, the increase that we received from state aid is 5.11%. I'm going to get into that misnomer too. One of the most critical things about staying within our tax cap is the governor's new tax freeze plan. And if we exceeded our levy limit, our residents would not be able to access the tax credit. So because we are at our tax cap limit, our community can expect a tax credit this year in the form of a check. So we are happy to present a budget that's within the cap so that people can access this tax credit. This is the interesting part of the budget. A number of years ago, the governor put into effect a gap elimination program. The gap that was being addressed was the gap for the state budget. So what they did was they said, school districts, there's a formula, and you will receive a certain amount of aid each year. But in order to close the state budget gap, they said you will receive less aid. And that has been cumulative since 2010. So while we had an increase in state aid this year, it was supposed to be the increase that we received, if you look at 14-15, plus $2 million. So interesting that we understand that the state budget this year had an excess, but we still have this gap elimination. I can't explain it. I don't do the state budget. What I do know is the gap elimination program in New York State, cumulatively since 2010, has resulted in a net loss in aid for our district of $15 million. So we are happy to have an increase in state aid, but it is still not what it would be if the gap elimination was fully restored. So due to declining enrollment, we will have one less section at each of our elementary schools, and a reduction in one reading teacher. I skipped forward a little. We are, sorry, Chance. We are reducing one administrator. This reduction took place last year. We reduced the 10-month assistant principal at FDR last year. A number of mitigating factors after we put the budget together caused us to revisit that reduction. We had a long-term assistant principal that took the helm at the middle school as principal. We had a brand-new assistant principal and a very welcome addition to our staff, Mr. Dan Cowan, but it was his first year. So we were down a long-term assistant principal, brand-new assistant principal in the slot, and we had just approved the reconfiguration of our security personnel. So that was going to be brand new in December. And we really felt that we needed an administrative presence for one more year. We got creative. It was a savings. Instead of putting the assistant principal, 10-month assistant principal back in, we did a one-year dean of students position to help us through the transition. Mike Ruella is that dean of students. He has rights back to his position, so Mike will still be with us. I do want to say publicly, Mike did a phenomenal job. He will be and is an excellent administrator, and we look forward to watching your career, and we're hoping that your career is with us for the long term. And we were happy to provide this opportunity and sad that we can't continue to do so, but we did it for transition, and we couldn't have picked a better person. So thank you. Every year, our part-time positions are 1 year only, so we revisit them. So we are eliminating the 0.5 phys ed, 0.5 art, 0.5 special ed, and then 3 teaching assistants, and that we'll explain in a bit. But how we're accommodating those reductions is doing a better job at scheduling and making sure that we're utilizing all of our full-time teachers in the proper capacity. I'm going to say it now if there's another slide later. At the middle school, for a number of years, the Curriculum and Instruction Office, rightly so, has recognized the need to have a certified math teacher delivering AIS, Academic Intervention Services. Actually, by regulation, for the students in the highest need category of needing those services, they are supposed to be either under the supervision or directly instructed by a certified teacher. So we have teaching assistants in positions that we are swapping out to get a certified math teacher. We have a number of retirements and a resignation, so again, no elimination of positions. Okay, we are recommending 2 additions. Every year, it's a give and take of assessing the school district needs. And so we are, a number of years ago, we reduced a technology position. Every time we reduce a position, we say, we think we can live without it. Well, everything we do is connected to technology. We cannot live without that position. We did a contract through BOCES this past year and for the past few years to have a part-time person. We are eliminating the part-time contracted person through BOCES and getting a full-time person. We've had some good luck of stealing people from BOCES. I don't want to single you out, Chance, but we managed to hire Chance full-time after being in one of those part-time positions through BOCES, and we got to know Chance and see his work and really highly valued it. So as soon as we had an opening, we snatched him. So, so we are increasing by a half position technology. We can no longer sustain the technological needs of safety, phones, everything with the limited staff we have. We also, a few years ago, reduced the student resource officer at Haviland Middle School. Much trepidation. Two principals, both indicating not a good move repeatedly and requesting to put it back. And also, even in light of our training today, the value of the student resource officers, it goes so far beyond being just at the school. They are frontline for knowing the community, knowing the kids, knowing the families. There's also a need more and more increasingly, unfortunately, to send the those resource officers to elementary schools. So they're being pulled. So for that and a number of both social, emotional, educational, and security reasons, we are recommending the reinstatement of the student resource officer at Haviland Middle School to full-time. I mentioned the trade in the teaching assistants for the certified math teacher, and then we are also adding, which is kind of just a reorganization of some of our overtime funding, a weekend groundskeeper. We now have facilities that we want the public to use, and more and more requests to use those facilities, so we needed to get somebody with some flex time instead of overtime, and by making it a flex time weekend position versus paying overtime every time we needed somebody, we were able to accommodate that with adding only $14,000 to get that accomplished for us. Okay. Yes, thanks. This we go through every time. These are the contributors to our increase. We've gone over this several times. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides. They are online, but these are what increases our expenses every year. Interestingly enough, even though we have declining enrollment, our cost for operating we always do it on a per student, continues to increase. But if you have health benefits increasing by 17%, you're going to see an increase in how much it costs to educate our students. All our debt service is accounted for and has been reviewed by our auditors and our advisors, and they include all of our capital projects, our bus vehicle amortization, and our energy performance. I won't say much about that. You'll hear from them later. Again, we're staying within our tax cap. The allowable levy, and this is what's interesting. You know, it took us so long to say, you know, to get people to realize 2% is the formula. And now this year, it was always either going to be 2% or the CPI, which is at 1.46 this year. So we didn't even start at 2%. We started at 1.46%. Or it's down 1.46%. Did I miss a bullet there? I don't know. Nope. Nope, I think we're good. So when we enter our numbers and we stay within the cap, it's 2.03%. If we did not utilize our reserves and fund balance, our levy increase would need to be 8.31%. The bottom line takeaway here is we are still living off our savings account to stay within the tax cap. Again, we have an $87 million budget. This is how we break down how we're going to finance that. This is just a pie graph of how that looks, how much we're using in fund balance. That fund balance is pretty wide. You take that out, and the tax levy is 8.31%. This is a pie graph of how our budget is put together. Here's what we do here. We bring kids in at the crack of dawn and we send them home dark or after dark. We have programs morning, noon, and night. That's what we do. That's our program. Rightly so. That has to be the biggest piece of the pie. The other golden rule is don't let your administrative piece of the pie exceed 10%. We are still under 10%. And our capital, that means having a safe roof over our head, is 11% of our budget to maintain our facilities. I'm going to run through these slides. This is a history of our increases and decreases. We actually, a couple of years ago, had a minus budget to budget, but we're climbing up a little because of all the health and benefit costs that are rising. State aid as a percent of the budget, there's your gap elimination right there. Climbing up a little, but nowhere near where it was in the 2007-8 timeframe. That's our decrease in state aid with a slight increase, but not nearly back to where it was. That's $15 million up that slope. Tax levy increase. For a number of years now, we've been trying to keep it stable. This year we're at 2.03%. Last year we were at 2.73%. So we're trying to keep it within the tax cap. And we are keeping it within the tax cap. Our mantra is one budget. We think we put together a very solid budget, a no-frills budget. We maintain as many programs as we possibly can. We tighten our belts wherever and whenever we can. So we're going to put up one budget. If the budget is decreased, then we have to make some tough decisions. If we fail to get a budget passed in the community, the interesting thing is you immediately have to go to a 0% increase, which will mean we need to cut $1.6 million out of the budget. In terms of employees, if you had to think of that in employees, that's 16 more. So that would be devastating. That is programs. Definitely cutting into programs. So that's a contingency budget. The contingency is a difference of 1.92% or the 1.6 I just said. There are some things under law that have to go on a contingency budget. You can't have any equipment, no student supplies, and no outside groups using the building, or they have to pay. We have very few non-mandated programs, but here they are. So if you go to contingency, these are the only places we can take from. Athletics, kindergarten, which is not mandated. Don't even go there. AP and elective classes, elementary instrumental, our language program at the middle school. The only library in a school district is required to have is one, and it needs to be at the high school. Co-curricular and field trips. Those are the only places we could cut from for contingency. So again, we're proposing an $87 million budget. Contingency is $85 million with a zero tax levy, but devastation to the district as far as program. Proposition 2, we went through this, so I'm just going to go through this rather quickly. 6 full-size buses, 3 vans, and 1 wheelchair van for $900,000. Again, we've said that. That's our operating budget. Proposition 2 is $900,000 when you account for our state aid at 52.4%. The cost of our transportation replacement is $429,000. To keep that from spiking and dipping, we do have a long-term replacement cycle so that it doesn't affect changes in our year-to-year budget. We try to keep that as level as possible and our kids as safe as possible on our buses. The budget vote is Tuesday, May 20th. Sorry. The last day for voter registration is May 13th. On the day of the budget vote, our polls open at 6 a.m. and they close at 9 p.m. I will be doing something a little bit different with budget presentations this year. One thing different, we're going to have a district-wide PTA meeting. Thank you, Bobby. And I will be going, along with Wayne, to the town hall in Clinton on May 14th at 6:30. We understand we have a number of very concerned people that reside in our district and are in the town of Clinton, so we will bring our budget presentation to the town hall, and I'm hoping to get into some of the fire departments just to bring it a little bit out to the community and maybe be in their environment for the budget presentations, but most especially getting into the town of Clinton. So thank you. Is that over 10 minutes?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I'm a little confused about the tax credit because I read two different things. Maybe we should add that. In one place I saw that to get the tax credit you had to apply for it. It's not automatic. So I think that would be an important, if that's true, I think that would be an important thing to put up on our slides that say, you know, we're under the cap and you can get the credit if you apply, if that's true. But I did see that one place, so.
Doug, I will verify that. I believe you're absolutely correct. The analogy I heard was it's similar to the STAR. You have to apply for it. It's not automatic. So we will verify that and get it up on the slide.
Okay.
I had another question relating to that. You're talking about the tax freeze under the governor's proposal.
Right.
And maybe I've heard this wrong somewhere, but I thought I understood that all taxing entities had to stay under the 2% in order for it to be available to anybody in.
Yeah, it's my understanding is it's a multi-year phase-in. So the first year, if your district stays under, you can apply. The second year, it has to be the district and the town.
Okay.
And then at a certain point, somewhere down along the road, you have to demonstrate that you have shared services, and they're saying that not to hurt entities that have already had shared services, you can actually state what your shared services were in the past and moving forward. So, for example, we share with the town of Hyde Park on sand and salts, on some of our fuel, and we get some discounts by having that as a shared service. So we would get credit for that shared service from the past and moving forward. We also understand that a lot of the direction is for school districts to share services. Already around the Dutchess County Superintendent's table, we're starting to say, well, what will that look like? We've had some fun with it, and then we have our serious moments too. But some of the pushes to, I think by year 3, demonstrate a serious effort toward shared services.
I had one other, actually I had a couple other questions, but one question, we're at a 2.03 tax levy, which is also the maximum, correct?
Yeah, we're not below. You get killed. We did that, was it last year? But we're at.
Okay, I just didn't know whether there's any risk of something not happening the way we expect it to and finding ourselves all of a sudden above the tax levy. Is that a potential?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll be long gone if that happens to me. We agonized because we kept getting information that said under the tax cap. And so there's a real difference between under and at. And we verified in every way that we could. Do you mean at or do you mean under? And every answer we got was at.
Okay. And there's no chance that we're going to end up ending up at 2.04. There's nothing, I mean, is there?
No, I mean, they have to approve our, they have to approve our formula. We can't, but sometimes stranger things have happened,
Yeah.
but no,
It just
Perry,
seems like
I honestly
I've
don't
always
think we're
heard
at.
everybody, saying that you were just staying under it just a little bit just to give a cushion, and I could never quite understand why the need for a cushion, but I'd heard that before,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I know that our, Wayne will be reporting, our tax cap submission was audited, so they do check that.
Okay.
And if he has any bad news, we still have 2 weeks, so.
Okay. And my last question is, and you kind of touched on it, is that we're using $3.5 million of fund balance in order to create this budget. At that trend, how long before we become insolvent?
I don't have an insolvency figure because I'll give you one example of, where we may not have that. This year we had a premium holiday on health insurance, and that was about $1 million. So that's revenue that we didn't anticipate. We've already been told we don't have that next year. So that's already $1 million less. So it's hard to predict where some of your revenues come in. We got the high tax impact aid one year and some this year too. But that's one example of $1 million right there. If we didn't have that $1 million there for planning this year's budget, that's 10 positions. That's $1 million. So I don't know about how far to insolvency, because that's a big, scary thing. Insolvency means that we do without everything: kindergarten, librarians, art, music, athletics, and you're still not insolvent. So we could decimate an educational program, as everybody in the room knows it. No matter how old you were, you went to school, you had a school play, you had some athletic team. So if we're talking about a budget where you don't have anything other than mandated, you could probably go a couple of years.
Okay. So the point is there may be tougher times ahead.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you, Greer.
Thanks.
At this time, we will have 6.4 Energy Conservation and Data Release Report. Elliot?
Bring this up a touch. Good evening, everybody. We'll try to make this a bit brief and pointed in the conversation. Now, we met a couple months ago and we presented kind of some background information on what the project is or the program is and how it works mechanically and through manpower and concept. This presentation is going to be much more focused on the data, the numbers. This is our first official data release to the board to show what some of our savings have looked like for the first half of the year, give or take, September to February of this school year. I wanted to introduce a couple of people. Most of you know our energy specialist, Jill Paracella. Sitting in the front row here, we have Paul Hammond and Mark Hickson with Synergistic. These gentlemen have been intimately involved with our data collection and our baseline creation. Last year when we were getting this program up and running, there was a lot of concern as to how we would measure our current savings versus our last year numbers, and these folks have spent a whole lot of time with us to drill that down, and Jill's going to explain that to you as part of the presentation today. So without further ado, Jill?
Okay. I'm just going to jump right into the meat of what everybody really wants to know, and that is how much money we've saved. I just want to clarify, though, that the reason we started reporting from September is because that's when the policy and guidelines were formally passed by the board and distributed in the schools. So that's when we were able to actually implement the program, and so our performance year will start in September. So for September through February of this year, the energy savings thus far are $143,640, and that's a good chunk of money. You can imagine how much that is in, positions or supplies or equipment. It's a 17.25% energy reduction, and that's over what was spent or what was expected to spend this year based on what our baseline was. That savings is, you can see in the pie chart, the majority of it is oil, and I I just want to mention that the oil savings is not because we switched 2 buildings over to natural gas. That was taken into account, and that fuel that was spent on those buildings in the base year was converted to its natural gas equivalent. So that oil savings is just the buildings that are oil. Those savings also equate to savings in environmental benefits because we're not putting all those emissions out into the atmosphere. So it's like saving, it's like taking 92 cars off of the road for an entire year. All those emissions are saved, or planting over 11,000 trees and growing them for 10 years. So the environmental savings are great too, in addition to the money. So we broke out the utilities so that you could see just in electric savings for the district. This is consumption, so it's not money, it's kilowatt hours. The increase in average unit cost for electric, that increased 22%, and it's still going up. I mean, you probably all see that on your Central Hudson bills. But the way these charts work, and you're going to see it for electric, natural gas, and oil, is the baseline is the first column, and that is what you consumed last year prior to the program for the same period. So September 2012 through February 2013. Then the second column is what you were expected to spend this year if you didn't have an energy program. So we took the baseline and adjusted it to today's conditions for heating degree days, average unit costs, all that's taken into consideration, so you're not comparing apples to oranges. And the third column is what we actually consumed. So you can see that there's a big reduction between the expected consumption and the actual. And that difference is our consumption avoidance. So we were able to avoid using that many kilowatt hours. The same thing for the natural gas. That was the expected usage was it wasn't too much less than the baseline. And I want to mention again that that includes all the buildings that have natural gas now. We took the 2 buildings that we converted this year, Violet Avenue and Hyde Park Elementary, and we changed their oil numbers into their natural gas equivalent. It's a basic calculation that allows us to have a baseline for them and to compare them to this year. So the reduction in the actual usage from the expected was over 8,000 CCFs, and that's how we measure gas. It's not in therms. Central Hudson measures it in CCFs, which is 100 cubic feet. And fuel oil, we expected that to go up because we do burn a lot of fuel, and it was a very, very cold year. But we were able to reduce that even from the baseline. So we were able to avoid using more than 35,000 gallons, and the unit cost of oil is kind of static. It hadn't really risen or dropped that much, and we're not expecting it to shoot up or anything right now. So the baseline adjustments I want to talk to a little bit, because those were kind of important in this district, because a lot of capital work was done before this program was brought on board. And we really need to make sure that we differentiate between what the program's doing and the new efficiency and the capital upgrades, because we don't want to mix that up in any way. So the major adjustments that we needed to do for the baseline, and Mark, the engineer, was very involved in doing these, and they used like AST modeling software that only PEs can use, and I can't do it, Elliot can't do it, Paul can't even do it. But so they used that software, and they were able to make those major adjustments for the hot water heating lines that were put in the building, because that building didn't just have new boilers, it also had hot water lines because the prior year they burst and we were leaking hot water all over the back of the school. So we were able to calculate that water loss and the heat loss because of that and make that adjustment so that when we're talking about savings, that savings does not include the savings because of the new hot water lines. We made major adjustments for the new boiler plants at 5 schools, which is actually 6 boiler plants because this building has 2 boiler rooms. The adjustment for the boilers, though, for the new boilers being 85% versus the old boilers being 70%, are done, but they are not actually put into the data yet because the project is not finished, it hasn't been closed out. So we haven't been able to take ownership of our own boilers and fine-tune them, and they're not where they need to be yet, so we can't put that in yet. Just added fans to each boiler plant was an adjustment. It wasn't a big adjustment, it was a minor electrical adjustment. And then adjustments that will be done by the end of the year are the new LED field lights out here. And that's just a basic calculation. What did we have? What do we have now and the difference? And we're also looking into other things that were on the property during all the capital work that consumed our electricity that we have not taken into account. And I just want to mention that the adjustments for ECAP that are heating degree days and average unit cost, those are done continuously in the software so that we're always comparing like things, and we don't put those in. It does that automatically for us, the software. And then, yeah, I just want to say that even with the savings that we have so far, it was a good savings for the first, part of the year, the first year. I was really happy with it, but there's so much more here. There's a lot of opportunity here once we get the boilers closed out and we can fine-tune those. And we actually have a HVAC expert, a pneumatics expert, coming in over spring break to train our guys in how to better repair and control our own univents and our system. So there's a lot of opportunity for us still to get a hold of. And this is just thanking everybody, because everybody is part of this energy team. It's not my energy program, it's Hyde Park's energy program, and without everybody being a part of it, it doesn't happen. And so thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Jill.
Questions?
Any questions? Gary?
Yes, Jill, it's not a question, just a point. We came up with about $143,000 worth of savings for that time period, September to February, but.
Right, and that's money that we avoided spending. We didn't have to spend. Yeah.
Exactly. But what the public needs to know too is that's not a full year, so there's more
Right.
savings to come.
Yes.
For a year cycle.
Yes, and we will.
And it didn't include all the capital improvement we've done, so we'll see that in next year more than this year.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Any other questions?
It's a minor item, but I question, what, you show a comparison both for electric as well as the natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
And in both cases, you showed expected to be lower than baseline. What were you considering, or why were you anticipating it to be lower?
The natural gas, I think because the average unit cost decreased by 48%.
But isn't that usage, not dollars?
Oh, the usage graphs.
Yeah.
That might have to do with the schools converting. It's done automatically in the software because it uses algorithms and a whole bunch of linear regressions to figure out the heating degree days. So if it's, depending on the year, and the equipment that we have, it'll tell us what we're expected to use based on all of the information that we put in. All our usage comes right off our bills and goes into the database.
So is baseline an actual average, or is it a theoretical calculation based on degree days and average use?
Do you want, Paul is the software expert.
Baseline is the actual. Okay, that's what is in the software.
Historical actual.
Yeah, it's right off your bills.
Okay.
Okay, and then the expected is what is brought in with the different adjustments to it. Heating degree days, billing period lengths, because the lengths change. So it takes a whole variety of things into play to come up with the expected, as if you weren't doing the program.
Okay.
And I think, was Hyde Park Elementary, could that be part of the reason that it dropped?
Depending on their usage.
I mean, the expected could have dropped because of Hyde Park Elementary School, the status that's in.
That would definitely make sense. We're not heating the whole back of the room, but building.
Are there any other questions?
Just one more comment. Concerns we had at Haviland this year, it's quite a bump in the road for the energy savings. So if we didn't have that period of problem there, I'm sure we'd have higher numbers too.
Oh.
Savings, rather.
Yeah, especially because not only, I mean, we fixed equipment that was broken. We put in the new boilers, we put in the new hot water heating lines. But even with more efficient boilers, we had to have additional run times this year because we had additional equipment failures in that building that we had to do the emergency work on in February. So, yeah, if we didn't have to do that, you would have had a lot more savings, sure.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. As well, it was mentioned at our committee meeting that, I think by Elliot, that there's another concern about the high school here. We had all the extra energy consumed by the capital project. So
Right.
If you take that off, we would.
About that.
Right. Just when we talk about baseline versus expected, a lot of things went into our baseline that have changed that were not necessarily related to the project or for the program. Like at the same time, we had both boiler rooms in this building being demolished and the field being torn up and rebuilt, and all of these demolition and construction equipment was hooked up to our meters and our power supplies. So we would have some less expectations this year, not having that draw on our system. Conversely, we fixed boiler plant issues at Haviland this year, or at the end of last year, so there'd be a less of an expectation of consumption this year because of those mechanical repairs are fixed. And when you're looking at those data charts, you're comparing the expected of this year to the actual of this year in light of the baseline that moved up and down. And when we sat with these guys, we looked through what all those things were. We pulled out work orders to really justify what's different this year from last year that can move that expected needle up or down accordingly.
Anything else?
Yeah, I sat on the Energy Committee last year and was part of the decision-making group that recommended to the board that we adopt the program. So I'm grateful to see this kind of savings this early in the program. I did, however, want to ask for a slightly different format in one of the charts for the next presentation.
Sure.
The electric comparison is a graph that goes from 1,250,000 kilowatt hours to 1.5 million. And because of that, it makes the difference between expected and actual look very large instead of the y-axis going from 0 to 1.5 million, which is what the other charts do.
Okay.
So my point is that a consistent axis like that makes it easier to see the overall, whereas I'm afraid that people who don't pay attention to detail like that may get the wrong impression.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
That same comment was made about some graphs that came out this last week or so on Obamacare. They have done the same thing. Trying to show the change, you magnify that portion of the graph, but it doesn't give you a good scale of the total.
Yeah, it does. it hurts the fidelity, so you can't see the detail, but it does tend to make the net look different.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I believe that's
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to enter public participation, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. We're now in public participation. If anybody would like to address the board, please come forward to the mic.
Dick Caller, 140 Deer Ridge Drive, Town of Clinton. The 2.03% sounds real good, but how do you know it'll be uniformly distributed over, you don't know that. You won't?
We know it won't be,
Oh, that's interesting.
for the most part.
Uh-huh. In the past few years, we've seen that advertised rate, which is a good near beer, I suppose, rate, but we've seen it in Clinton closer to 10%. Okay? So I might suggest to you, I understand you're going up to Clinton for a future meeting. I heard that today, and you verified it a little while ago. Sitting in a car, I grabbed some numbers from the publication that the Dutchess County Board of Real Property distributes. Their 2014 publication, which is the old printed page. And some interesting aspects of it. Of the 4 school districts that comprise the town of Clinton, meaning the Rhinebeck Central School District, Pine Plains, Millbrook, and Hyde Park, I calculated the cost per student that each district spends, including the state aid, and that ranges from $27,000 a year in Rhinebeck down through Pine Plains and Millbrook at $24,900, down to Hyde Park, $21,900. Excellent work. It shows you're the most efficient school district of the 4. Great applause. However, the next column shows the tax rate per thousand in each of the delineated school district areas. There's an inverse relationship there with Pine Plains showing the lowest tax rate of $13.09, up through Millbrook at $13.77, through Rhinebeck to Hyde Park at $22.25. A suggestion that you have some ready answers for this inverse relationship when you come to Clinton on the 15th of May, I believe it is.
14th.
14th? Thank you.
You'll get a postcard.
Oh, very good. Okay. Because I think what I just detailed is the crux of the problem. Okay. Neighbors speak to neighbors and say, you pay what? You know, but how come? You know, $3,000, $4,000, $7,000 difference. On the same street, same assessor, comparable properties. In fact, often they're assessed the same. And we see these very large differences in tax bills. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board?
Hi, my name is Kelly Marshall. I live in Poughkeepsie, New York. I've listened to the presentation. This is my second time listening to the budget. And it doesn't sound great for this year, for next year. But at a certain point, we have to say what's best for our students. And I'm here to talk about the Dean of Student position again. I think he has done an incredible job. It started off as what you said, a transition position, and he made it into a valuable position that I worry what's going to happen without that position. The things that he has put into place for this year, who's going to be in charge of that? He's been in charge of security. You've been told that you're at the forefront of security and safety. Well, you're losing your person here at the high school that's run that this year. You had an incident just recently here with a car. You guys were practicing what to do in an incident. They were actually acting and going forth and doing it. The administrative staff here is important, all 4 of them. So what's going to happen with the things that he's doing? The grad program he's doing, the Student First program. So our administrators are already working with what the state is telling them they have to do with the evaluations. A teacher, one teacher, has to be observed, evaluated, post-observation. One teacher, that's 3 times. And then there's a period for writing up the observation. So if you just took one day, that's 4 periods right now. The administrators, not the dean of student, the administrators also have the responsibility. The director positions have been eliminated, and now their coordinator, the administrators become coordinators. So let's say they're a coordinator of 2 subjects. Well, that's another 2 periods. So now we're up to 6 periods, and they haven't met with a student yet. So when do our students become first? The dean of students position has created that. He is out in the hall, he is visible. When students don't go to class on time, they get the referral. He gets the referral. When students aren't in school to receive the education that we're providing, we're still required for them to be here. He follows up. He gets those students here. So again, that's going to be another loss. When the focus group came down, did they look at how many numbers of students that we have and just say, thank you, we're done? No, they want answers. They want to see our graduation rate improve. That's what the dean of students was trying to work on. Our surveys, you guys have had 2 surveys, and security has come up as an issue each time. He is trying to improve that. The responsibilities have been added. He has been tremendous in jumping in and filling in where it needs to be. And I'm just afraid of without that, again, what that's going to look like. I know that next year, a huge security system is being put into central office for you guys to feel safe. I'm asking for our students to feel safe and for the students to come first. I want to stand up here, so if we ever have a Pennsylvania incident like happened this week, I can say that I fought for a position for our students first. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board?
Noreen Kohler, Deer Ridge Drive, Town of Clinton. I'd just like to add one more comment to my husband's concerns about our school taxes. I'm a strong supporter of the public schools. I've voted for your budgets for 47 years. I'm having problems with voting for the budget this year. There are approximately 600 households in the town of Clinton that have seen their Hyde Park school taxes go up approximately 40% in the last 4 years. We paid our combined town and county bill in February. Our school taxes are approximately 3 times that amount. So the increase in taxes has been extraordinary. And it was our town clerk's office that called us today to let us know about the meeting that you're holding in Clinton. I applaud you for that. But again, we need some answers. The disparity within our town is very striking. As Dick has said, if we could move our house a few hundred feet north on our road, we would save many thousands of dollars in our school taxes. And that's a major critical issue in our town. I want to add one other item to the increase in emphasis on energy and getting better energy control in the school district. Having had intimate experience with the A wing of Haviland Middle School for 26 years, I can tell you that the old building at Haviland was very sturdily built in the 1940s. In the 1960s, when the A wing was built in, it's cement block on grade. That means that the floor is blocks of cement on the ground. There's no insulation in the walls. There's no insulation in the roof. The windows leak. So having experienced this, I know the problems that some of your instructors are having trying to keep the room comfortable. My average room temperature is in the wintertime between 50 and 55 degrees. That's not what I'd call a good educational experience for our students. So I would ask you to consider putting some of your investment into improving the infrastructure in these buildings that do not have any insulation or proper maintenance for the students and the staff. Thanks.
Thank you. Bobby?
Hi, thank you. Bobby Goodman. I prepared a statement, but Mrs. Marshall pretty much covered almost everything I was going to say. I am also concerned about what loss we will have here at Roosevelt for if we do lose the Dean of Students. And I do remember it being added in after the fact of the budget last year and being like, where'd this come from and how is this even happening? But in seeing the way that the students have reacted with this position, they do, as much as what Dr. Rychik was saying about the SRO at Haviland, that is how these students react with our APs here. Girls are fighting and crying in their offices every day, and they have much more to deal with. I know that our student population in numbers is going down, but the things that they have to deal with now, I think if you look at the numbers of our students of 5 years ago when we were higher, with IEPs and 504s, we're probably higher now than we were then, which means our students need more support. And with the problems of social media now, they didn't have that 5 years ago when we had those numbers. This is another whole issue that these 4 administrators have to deal with on top of all these things from the state that's added on. These guys, and Miss Marine, they know our kids, they talk to them, they try to help them solve their issues before they become problems. And I know I missed the meeting when they get up here and they did their presentation to you, but I remember them reading it online and saying how our incidents are down. And we want them to keep going down. And we want to get off the focus list. And they made the statement tonight that, that was amazing, 50% by January of kids that couldn't pass the test after a year of a class or more in 3-4 months worth of work. We can't lose these programs if we want to get off the focus list. In order to keep these programs, we need to keep people here that can run these programs. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board? Carol?
Hello, everyone. Carol Pickering, Cardinal Road. I sure picked a great meeting to come to. Wow, with the president's men and the first ladies and the academic scholars. And I also want to congratulate the board and the administration on putting together a very fiscally responsible budget in times that just continue to be so difficult. But the main reason I came tonight was to publicly congratulate and thank Paul Scatinato, who is retiring and is on the agenda tonight. I've known Paul Scatinato since the 90s when we both worked in Kingston. He was the high school choral director and I was the elementary/music director. So we worked together for a number of years and I got to know both his tremendous high qualities as a teacher, an administrator, and a colleague. And we worked together on many, many projects in Kingston. In 2006, when Mrs. Marine stepped up to become principal of FDR at a time that was very, very critical to our district with a surprise loss of the prior principal, that left vacant the director of Fine and Performing Arts. So when Paul Scatinato applied, I was thrilled. I thought, and he came here and he gave up a very secure job over several decades as a high school music teacher and has done, in my view, an outstanding job as our director of Fine and Performing Arts. He has worked tirelessly with a quiet passion and a humble spirit to maintain and improve our music and arts and theater programs, and has played a pivotal role in upgrading our arts facilities. You only need to look at the beauty of the vestibule out here, which I saw for the first time last month, and he has just moved these so valuable programs along and brought them to new levels. He's garnered support from teachers, from administrators, from parents, from the wider community, including the Board of Education that has continued to support our programs and fund this critical position. His shoes will be very tough to fill, and he's another example of what a strong leader and a high-quality administrator does and can do, and how effective they can be. So I don't think he's here tonight, but I just wish Paul and his wife Paula, who's also retiring from the Kingston School District, and I wish them a wonderful retirement that's so well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the board? May I have a motion to close public participation, please?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? I think I'll just start out. Carol, thank you. You said that so much better than I was going to say when we got to that point, so now I don't have to say that. Would you like to comment on the Clinton and Mr. Collar's? Well, as you know, because we've discussed this before, we've had unfortunate changes in the equalization rate, which affected the town of Clinton. However, the rest of the data that you have, I think I've seen it somewhere, but if you could give it to me, I'd like to study that a little bit, if that's possible. Well, it doesn't have to be now, but after the meeting, if I could have that. So we're prepared when we come to Clinton.
Right, so we have the same data you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, just echo, first of all, Carol's statements. Thank you for that. Paul's certainly going to be missed, an extraordinary administrator. And you described him just perfectly about how quietly going about his business. So, that he's going to be missed. And as far as the Dean of Students, I'm kind of working backwards, I think, yeah. Dean of Students position, it's actually nice and gratifying actually to have parents and community members come up and support administrative positions. Too often, people think that there's too many of them, and it infuriates me when you run a large organization like this and have to recognize the amount of, and when I mean this, I mean the entire school district. There's a lot that requires supervision and leadership and direction, and you really just can't let everybody do their own thing. You do need a good cadre of administrators, and certainly, echoing the comments about Paul, certainly says that. But I think when we talk about administrators at the building level, more so, I think there's sometimes a lack of understanding by a lot of people about the amount of work they do with students. They don't show up to the same classroom every day and sit in front of the same 120 or so students, but they're interacting with students all day, and they really never know what they're going to get into. So they do have a critical role, so I do appreciate the comments. I do echo those concerns. I'm not totally comfortable with the idea of eliminating that position, but I've been a staunch supporter of short of us dropping to at least Haviland level enrollment numbers in this building, and I don't think that's going to happen for a while, but with 4 grades and the number of students that are in this building and the ages and what they do and what they're up to, I've always been a proponent of 3 assistant principals in whatever formula, whether it's a dean of students or whatever, but I am a little concerned about that, because we did find ourselves this year kind of looking at the new security detail and how we were going to put that together, and the supervision of that, and the loss of the experienced administrators. And I think it was important because of the loss of experienced administrators, with the transfer of Mr. Shaw to Haviland, a promotion, if you will. But it's not only that. There's a great workload here. I seriously doubt I'm going to see those guys, the remaining 2, shaking their heads going, oh, no, we got this. There's just a lot to do here, and things are running pretty smoothly. So that's something I would like us to reconsider. That's just my own opinion. I obviously have to hear what everybody else has to say, but that's my opinion on that, because it's a really critical role, and it seems like every time we back away from it, a year or two later, we're trying to put it back in because we just realize that it's not really working out. So for what it's worth, that's my thought. And then finally, I just wanted to respond to to Mr. Kohler and Mrs. Kohler, and appreciate your well thought out comments. I don't really have the answer, and you've given us a lot to think about. But just without having the data in front of me, one thing I will say is that it's hard to compare the 4 school districts that serve the town of Clinton, because you don't know what portion of the tax levy from each of those districts has to get placed on. For example, 4 districts serve the town of Clinton, but it's probably, I don't know. It's very likely that it's not a 25% split across all 4. That so you might have a small handful of properties in one district, but then you've got a bunch in But that combined with the amount of taxes that each of those districts has to raise, that's going to get portioned to that town. Yeah, and the state, there's a lot of that goes into it. So it's definitely worthwhile looking at and getting the information so we can properly answer the questions. Oh, it looks like he's got that data. Yeah, I'd like to see that too. But that would probably be easier to answer that question knowing all that information, because to just compare the tax rates, it's very difficult to do. But to have all that other information is really important. Yeah, come on up and bring it up, please. So.
A very little-known publication, they've been publishing it for about 30 years, from the Dutchess County Real Property Tax Services. This one is dated 2014. It was available about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good.
Lists every town, all 20 towns and the other 32 municipalities in the county, all of the tax rates on one small piece of paper. It's a wealth of information.
On their website?
Everything is on the site.
Okay.
But for me, it's easier to pick up the piece of paper. And it's very small print, but I can manage. And there's an incredible amount of good information on these.
Yeah. I guess it's not, when's the presentation out there?
I think, I don't have it right in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's May 14th.
Oh, okay, good. So there's time to put something together, because
Right.
I really think it is important to probably explain the differences with the numbers and have all the data behind it, not
Yeah.
just just to compare the tax rate, but like what does each school district have to raise for tax levy, and then what portion of that tax levy for each district is assigned to the town of Clinton. Then you can start comparing. That's all there. Oh, great. Okay.
The third town alphabetically is Clinton.
Okay.
It lists the 4 school districts and the portion of the town.
Oh, good. Okay.
Which is in the tax portion of the town that is in each one of those school districts. Does
Okay.
the same for the fire departments
Okay.
and so on.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could have a couple people get together and look at that with Wayne, and we'll include that.
Yeah, because it probably does require some explanation.
Okay, yeah.
I just.
No, I'm sure he probably does, yeah.
Yeah, I fear that, just the notion of saying that your tax rate is X, but the neighbor down the street is a lot less X. It's a true statement, but I don't think it's that simple, Yeah. Yeah, I know, I understand, right. It's a huge difference, yeah. But I'd like to know, there's got to be a reason behind that, and I think we need to, and owe it to the citizens of Clinton to explain that a little bit better.
Well, I think that there's a factor that nobody's mentioned here. Last I remember, Hyde Park, besides Dutchess Community College, Marist College, the Culinary Institute, Amard Seminary, Roosevelt, Vanderbilt, Volkill,
Norrie Point.
Mills,
yep.
blah, blah, blah. I think there are 300 tax exempt or more parcels.
In the
every
school
church,
district, right.
every monastery, everything in our district that is tax exempt
yeah,
adds to these factors.
But that's
I don't think
right,
the other
right.
districts around us have that kind of a ratio.
That's one part of it, but the most obvious answer just is the amount of money that has to be raised by this school district far outpaces, because you see what our budget is. Pine Plains, Millbrook, and Rhinebeck's budgets don't come close to what ours is, because it's just they're that much smaller. That's really the issue. So, Okay.
The issue was because we didn't, Town of Hyde
Well,
Park
I
wasn't
think,
assessed.
I think there's a lot
Good stuff
there
there.
for us to look at, and thank you very much for bringing this. We will go over it. I'll have Debbie scan this and
Yeah, I'd like
send
to see it, yeah.
everybody. And then hopefully we will be prepared for the 14th when we come and talk to you. Any other comments?
I'd just make one comment based on the number of years I've been on the board. The one item that this board can directly affect and control is the first item you cited, which is the cost of educating a student. Beyond that, there are so many other factors that get involved to cover the distribution of the taxes among the various townships. There's nothing we can do about that, really. And with smaller districts, it doesn't take much in terms of a concentration of high income or high value homes to give you a larger tax base. Right now, we saw it argued last week in the paper that currently the average value of homes in Hyde Park is the second lowest in the county. So the tax base we've got to build on is shrinking on top of the huge amount of untaxable land we have in here. So, you know, the pot we dig into is much smaller than, you know, even though the number of students we educate is large, the pot we have to dig into to get paid for that is very, very restrictive. And I think part of that is going to play into the numbers you're presenting us with in comparisons, unfortunately. And that is why, from day one, I've always said that using property taxes to fund education is a very inequitable way of dealing with that problem in the state and needs to be changed.
All right. Moving on, 8.1 board discussion. We didn't have anything listed, but I would like to mention Wayne and I had a meeting with our lawyers about a new proposal that the Taylor Tool Company had sent us. In the last meeting, we spoke of them asking for a 10-year pilot, essentially a freeze in taxes. We discussed it. I told them to go back and come back with a better plan. They came back with another plan that's
10-year freeze in taxes.
essentially the same, slightly less. So just so you know, we are meeting with the IDA and the town of Poughkeepsie supervisor tomorrow at 9:30, and basically we're going to tell them that we don't agree with the pilot and we're not going to do that. That they're certainly welcome to give them what normal IDA grants that they normally generate, and that's fine with us, but unless anybody has a different opinion, I am going to say that we will not agree to a pilot.
Good.
Okay. Moving on then. And I have a motion for 9.1, the consent agenda, please.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess no one's here to say what a wonderful time, what a wonderful career Mr. Massa has had, but certainly I don't know the gentleman all that well, but I know what he's done for this school has been a tremendous amount, and I don't know if you want to fill in.
Yeah, I wanted to mention Al Massa, and we are very sorry to see him go as part of our program, and he will be sorely missed. He had a long career here, and I also did want to wish Paul Scottinato, I don't know if I want to wish him well. I don't want him to leave. It's I actually asked to meet with him and was hoping that he'd change his mind, but he is ready, unfortunately for us, but he's been a tremendous to the school district. Like Carol, I have a history with him in Kingston as well, and I was sad when Carol stole him from Kingston, and so I was happy when I arrived in Hyde Park and he was here. So thank you, Carol, because this was a much a better place for him, and, you know, what a great opportunity he had by you bringing him in here, so he will be sorely missed.
I view it a little differently. We didn't steal him. We offered him a greater opportunity to succeed and to expand his influence on students.
And that he did. Yeah, and Al as well, both really good educators, so. Yep.
I've got just a small correction on the minutes of the March 28th meeting.
Okay.
Doug, your name is listed twice. I don't believe that Tim Liebrand or Sharon were there.
Oh, wow.
Tim and Sharon are listed
Oh,
there as
okay.
well,
All
so
right. Okay.
I'm sure it was a little cut and paste.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for knowing it. We'll take care of that. All those in favor, please. Thank you very much. 10.1, special education placements, as listed in the board agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
A quick discussion, presented in the two packets we received this time. We had a total of 145 meetings. 47 of them dealt with current year programs for students, and resulted in 8 students being declassified, which is a significant number and a reflection on the improvement that we've seen going on year for year in the special education program. This represents 8 students that have been in the program, receiving special services, and have now gotten to the point where they have matched or caught up with the regular students and no longer need services to continue that way. It represents a good kudo for our teachers, and it also is an economic impact in a positive way for our school district. We had 3 students, transfer students coming into the district, 2 of whom are going to continue to receive services in the district. They represent new. 1 student is going to be declassified, so we only got 2 out of that. And then we had 5 students being classified from initial referrals. And this number is significantly down from what it was in the past because of the change in the process. So I recommend the acceptance of this package in its entirety.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. I have a motion for 10.2 budget transfers as noted in the agenda.
So moved.
Is any discussion? The first budget is due to retroactive tuition rate is for Abilities First, the Anderson Center, Astor Day treatment, Cardinal Hayes, just so everybody knows. And the other one was cleaning up old and inactive capital projects. These were closed at a prior meeting, but the auditors thought we should have the bookkeeping updated, so it's not something that we haven't seen already. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. Let me just get back here.
Your favorite topic.
May I have a motion for 10.3, first reading of policies 5440, 8414.5, 8414.5R, the regulation, 8414.5, the exhibit, 9320 and 9320R. These all pertain to our drug and alcohol abuse policies. They're all been reworked so that they all are consistent, just so you know why they were done. This is just a first reading. It's not, we're not adopting them. So, may I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. May I have a motion for 10.4, the girls and boys swimming team mergers, as listed in the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? It's a lot easier to get them through than it was. At this time, may I have a motion to re-enter public participation, please?
So, second?
Any discussion? All in favor? We're now in public participation. If anybody would like to speak to us again, or for the first time, please step to the mic. Bobby.
Hi, Bobby Goodman. Just wanted to let you know, yes, the opening track meet went really well on Monday. And I just wanted to let you all know that we are hosting the first invitational on May 3rd. It's called the Race at the Oval Office. So right now we have 6 teams signed up to come, so that'll be, between 800 and 1,000 people will be here on Saturday, May 3rd, and we want to make sure that everybody knows to come out and cheer on our school.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby. Anybody else like to address the board? May I have a motion to close public participation, please?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. And Bobby, thank you for that information. That is a big deal. It is.
Building up to the final.
Yeah, May 17th.
Oh, board subcommittee reports. We did have a policy subcommittee on the aforementioned drug and alcohol abuse policies and regulations. You had a facilities, right? Or, I mean,
We had
energy,
an
anything?
Energy committee meeting yesterday. Pretty much covered everything that was presented by Elliot and Jill tonight.
We also had the special ed subcommittee met on Monday, and the internal audit committee met on Wednesday.
Yesterday.
Right.
Yep.
Been a busy week. All right. Upcoming meetings. Okay, Tuesday, April 22nd, special board meeting to vote on the BOCES budget, 5:30 at the administration office. Thursday, April 24th, is the next Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. at the Haviland Middle School. The following Board of Education meeting, Thursday, May 8th, is also at 7 o'clock, and it will be at Violet Avenue Elementary School. Monday, May 12th, voter registration, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the administration office. Monday, May 12th, public hearing on the budget and meet the candidates night. As of this time, I think I'm the only one that's put their stuff in, actually.
When is it due?
21st.
21st, all right, so, gonna remind people. Yeah, so Monday, that's a Monday, right? Monday, the 21st.
It's at 7 o'clock.
How many people picked up packages?
Let's see, 3 others.
Oh,
3.
good, all right. So hopefully they're out there scouring for signatures, because, yeah.
Doug, if I
Anybody's
could add,
interested, it's not too late.
the Dutchess County School Board Association is going to be having their prospective board member training on this Saturday, the 9th, or at 9 o'clock at the BOCES. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to have even picked up a packet in order to attend
Yeah,
that.
just to
You
see
can
whether
just-
you want to get involved or
Yep,
not,
it's
yeah,
just an opportunity
absolutely.
to check
But-
things out and see if
yeah.
it's something you want to be involved with.
We should emphasize, and Kevin, you are correct, there is only 11 days left to put in your packet if you.
Yeah, I know, so, really, I mean, for anybody that catches this on TV, I mean, and, or ever spread the word, and if there's anybody interested in running that hasn't thought about it, I extend the invitation. If anybody ever wants to call me and, bounce it off of me, I mean, by all means. I mean, my number's on the website, but I really can't, democracy only works when you have candidates, so.
Let me just finish these. Monday, May 12th is the last day to register to vote. And Tuesday, May 20th is a vote on the 2014-15 proposed budget. And board member election, yes. And that is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Haviland Middle School. And we're going to have a word about the election.
I just want to let everybody know that we have 1,400 inactive voters on the list that I just received. So if someone has not voted within the past 4 years and they would like to come out and vote on May 20th, they are going to need to re-register. And they can pick up a registration form in the district clerk's office, or it's on our website.
And these inactive voters means you didn't vote in a regular general election at
Right.
all, so, right, because you're also registered if you vote in the regular election, so.
Correct. Okay. There is no need for a executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. We are now adjourned.